Welcome back to the World Championship Series. This is the Premier League, and I'm joined this time by Pig, and over to the far right-hand side once again by Todd. Happy to be here with both of you. First of all, iaguz, as we mentioned, is a cheeky individual, saying that he's playing for the round of 8 just to better you.
It's that Australian rivalry, man. We've been playing this game for 5 years, going up against each other in tournaments, and I got to say, now he's making me torn a little bit. Now I don't know if I'm cheering for him quite as hard as I was before that comment.
It was a great comment, and you had a good laugh with that one. But back to a serious note, we have a big game coming up now. We can take a look at the group in Group C, because we are going to the winners match now. So a place in the quarterfinals is up for grabs for two players that come from completely different backgrounds. Lilbow is a rising European talent. If you don't really know too much about him, he has been known in the community, in the pro scene, as pretty much the best Protoss player that hasn't broken out for a year now, Todd, right?
It's been a while. He does very well on ladder, always very, very high up there, was rank 1 for quite some time, but in tournaments, he doesn't always perform the same. So here, it's definitely a good chance to finally do that.
And of course, iaguz, the last remaining, let's think in, Australian player.
This season.
This season. It goes up with a chance to get to the round of 8, which has never happened in Australian history, of course, in WCS.
Not since Moonglade in the very, very first season of WCS America back in 2013. So it's been a really long time. It is very, I think, historic for the Australian scene. And it's really cool because if you look at a player like iaguz, he's uprooted his life, no pun intended, and moved to the root house where he's been training for a couple of years, giving his all to StarCraft. And it's cool to see it pay off, you know? When a player does something like that, they invest so much into it. You know this is the game they love, and as much as he plays down, whether or not he, thinks he'll win, he wants it so badly, and he does really, really want to break through, get that top 8, get that top 4.
It's interesting to mention that Lilbow, from the round of 32, he beat Kelazur, then he beat Hydra, and now he's playing iaguz.
Hat-trick incoming.
Yeah, man, he's not quite as rooting for Root as he's exterminating Root right now. The Frenchman is coming, and there will be no trees left when he's done.
The French Root exterminator is on his way. Lilbow, thank you very much for your initial thoughts here. We'll come back to you to discuss both of these players in a moment. But for now, let's learn a little bit more about Lilbow.
I just feel very happy. I feel like I have accomplished something really huge. I didn't expect to finish first of my group. I'm not too nervous playing in Toronto because I'm quite used with it because I played Nation Wars in front of a huge French crowd, playing for the French team. So I think playing in front of a different than French crowd is just better for me. I will be very less stressed, so it shouldn't be an issue for me. I'm just a standard player, I think. Sometimes I like to do aggressive things if my opponent do greedy.
Is Lilbow going to give him those opportunities? I think he's doing a phenomenal job. I think our French Protoss is slowly but steady might actually be doing this stuff.
Looking into the future, my ultimate goal is to make it to BlizzCon and to be the best foreigner. And I think I should be able to do that. To do that if I continue to focus on my game.
Lilbow has too much. He's reinforcing right in the fight, and GG. The French player will advance on to the round of 16.
Lilbow, a player without that much achievements under his belt, but a player who just said, I want to play at the global finals, and I think it's possible if I keep on the same path that I'm going. That is huge words for a player who's at the peak in terms of results in his career.
He's definitely talking the talk. He's always been very ambitious, actually. From when he started his rise in France, it's funny because he hadn't achieved much there yet. And back then, when people asked him, you're definitely one of the players that's showing good things lately. What do you expect to achieve? What do you want to go for? He didn't even say best French player. He said best foreigner already back then. And he kind of got that title for some time online, though, not in offline tournaments. So now, if he wants to be able to cement himself as one of the top foreigners, it's definitely going to have to be through performing here. I would say at least a top 4, maybe even, finals.
That's a big message to send, and such high expectations to set for yourself as a professional gamer, which automatically puts a lot of pressure on yourself. You think he's aiming too far here? Or you believe in what he says?
He's a driven individual, you know. Lilbow, he's been playing for a long time, full-time, putting everything he has into it. And I've seen him crushed after losses at tournaments. I know him quite well, and he puts everything into it, but he always comes back fighting harder. He learns from his mistakes, and I think he is at this sort of magical point where we could see great things from him in this tournament. He has a fantastic opportunity, I think, to take it out first place in this group.
Yeah, I don't think it's too unrealistic, to be honest. Imagine if he had said, like, I want to be the best in the world and win GSL. Then people would kind of be like, well, I don't know, but best foreigner? Definitely doable, you know, if you put in the work.
Okay, all right, thank you very much, gentlemen. It's time to introduce the two players onto the stage. Looking forward to this one. It's going to be the winners match of Group C.
A beautiful matchup here for the winners match in Group C. We have two players really trying to make the best of their breakthrough here in the Premier League of WCS. First up, we just heard a little bit about him, the star child from France, playing for Millennium. It is Lilbow. And his opponent looking to set a landmark in the WCS for Australia. Playing for Root Gaming, it will be iaguz. And one of these players will move on to the quarterfinals. They'll secure the highest spot either of them have ever gotten in the WCS Premier League. Let's find out. Players, shake hands, enter your booths, and let's get this winners match started.
Thank you once again, Cobra. A big moment for both of these players. As he mentioned, they are going to achieve the biggest result they've had in WCS so far. The tournament's been around for years now. A great opportunity, and one of them guaranteed to play in the round of 8. But which one will it be? We looked at iaguz coming into this. He didn't really expect too much from himself. He's now got a great opportunity. He says he will start to think a little bit more about the possibility of playing into the round of 8, but he's going to still be calm in there.
Absolutely, and you've got to be calm going in against a player like Lilbow. He's been gaining a lot of experience playing in a lot of tournaments. That being said, iaguz had a fantastic run taking out Mana, which was a really big surprise in the round of 32. And it's going to be very curious to see how their styles match up. Lilbow, he said there in that video before, he likes to punish players when they're a bit greedy. He likes to get in there and go for some all-ins. And I think that's something which could definitely catch iaguz off guard. For both these players, it's a very important moment, but it's very interesting to see. You've got Lilbow, who wants this so badly. He's on that verge, and you've got iaguz, who's much more nonchalant about it, but he's just as close to greatness here.
How do you feel they'll match up?
iaguz, from what we saw from him yesterday, not yesterday, recently in general, he seemed to be playing, you know, fairly standard. No more SCV pools, ready to go into the later stages of the game, whereas Lilbow, he mixes it up a lot. Well, every time I talk to him, he tells me, well, versus Terran, you know, I practice mostly macro. I'm going to macro, and then you watch his games. It's like 7-gate blink all in, old school. It works. 7 gates with just warp gates. It works most of the time. We've seen actually, I think it was a DreamHack when he played a Marine King. He was playing in the first game. He tried macro, didn't work, and then he went into very aggressive play. So I think here, if he was to try for macro in the first map and he lost, we definitely could see the same trend continue here, with him really starting to do very, very aggressive builds slash all-ins.
Well, here is Lilbow, and he is currently ranked 48, so far away from getting to top 16. But look at his record in 2015. 4 wins, 1 loss. There's a lot of just automatic hype building around this guy, and he's setting a lot of expectations himself. The community knows that he has the power to unleash to be one of the best. This is the perfect time to show that on stage, to go through in first place pick.
It is a really, really big opportunity, and what's going to be very key for Lilbow is how he keeps his emotions in check during this. He has been a player who's had troubles performing at these big events, and he did say, you know, after Nation Wars, he's feeling much more confident, but he could still have some issues with that. He did look a little bit nervous in that booth.
All right, Todd, the maps here. You saw them, you looked at them.
Yeah, I mean, I'd fully expect them, you know, to play on the most usual maps that you're going to be going back to a lot, you know, and Coda, definitely one of those. Now, the question still remains, you know, the map in PvT doesn't really tell you much. It's a lot more about how you're going into the match. And I still think that iaguz is definitely going to want to be playing it a lot more standard, whereas out of Lilbow, it's very, very hard to figure out what he's doing or even what to expect. So it's going to be really hard for iaguz to figure out, you know, what's going on and how he's going to counter it.
Do you think that the record between Protoss and Terran on this map is going to play into factor here between these two? 6 map wins for Terran, 2 for Protoss in WCS?
I don't think so. I don't think so at all. It's really going to come down to iaguz's capability of identifying what he's up against and Lilbow's mood, I guess. You know, if he feels like, you know, being a little bit cheeky with some very aggressive play, he's definitely capable of playing some very good, you know, macro late game with double forge and all that. And we've seen iaguz at times kind of struggle against, you know, the very late game Protoss. I remember back in Cologne, he was playing against a Terran, and I kind of walked in on him, and he lost to like a 4-base Protoss, and he basically told us that if you need to make Ghost, you're already losing against Protoss. I think that's what he said back then. So.
All right, thank you very much, guys. It's time to get into the game. Looking forward to this one. Let's head over to the commentary team.
It's time for one of these players to propel their career to the next level. One of them is guaranteed a round of 8 spot here at the World Championship Series in season number 2. It will be Lilbow or iaguz moving on into that position. Jeff, for one of these guys, this is going to be a very, very big deal.
Kalaris, you're talking storylines, buddy, and I love it. It's absolutely true. Lilbow, a lot of hype behind him. You heard Apollo kind of talking about that with the guys over the analysis desk, and it's so true. But getting to that round of 8 is where you start to make that argument. And we've got some cheeky play coming out here. I swear to God, that'll be the last time anyone ever says it. On the flip side, though, like you said, iaguz a guy as well who discounts himself. He just dominated TLO. But that's fine. That's just one best of 3 in this group. You need to win 2 to advance, and in order to do that, he's got to kill the hype train coming out of France.
All right, well, let's get into things. Spawning down to the bottom right-hand corner, but not exactly there with the entirety of his base as our red Protoss. It's Lilbow! And up to the top left-hand corner, might not know what's hidden very, very soon. We'll find out soon. Representing Team Root all the way from Australia, it's iaguz.
Starting off with a proxy gateway. For those of you that don't know, like Kalaris was saying, that's some of your base outside of your base. It is the opposite of Inception. It is getting closer than comfort will allow for. And this is kind of a meta opening. He's saying, I don't think you're going to wall in. I think you're going to make a Reaper, and that Reaper is going to be mid-map when my Zealot, maybe 2, start to come into your base, and they're going to start hacking away at those SCVs and really affecting the economy. Now, back at home, Lilbow's not going to have much in the way of a defense, but with the Cybernetics core, he should have a Mothership core fairly soon, and that's all the defense you need for a Reaper.
At least for iaguz even, I should say, at least Reapers are fast, so at least once he ends up getting, at least he can get back and try and help this out. But how difficult can this be for a Terran to deal with when it is being built up like this by Lilbow?
Oh, it's so hard, because after that Reaper, you're doing things like building a factory, a CC, maybe you're adding a reactor to your barracks. To get out more production, you're not anticipating this kind of attack, and it's going to be 3 Zealots. That is a lot. And like I said, watch this Reaper. He's going to get the memo. Like, his cell phone's ringing in a couple of seconds here. And he's like, hello. And they're like, they're at our base. Get back home right now. And he's like, I can't. I'm a Reaper. I'm going after probes.
Well, they're just going to walk on in, and the add-on, has been started, and you've only got this one Reaper to deal with. It's no
good. The Reaper, I think, I did the math, I think it's 76,455 shots to kill a Zealot. He's no good back at home. He really isn't. This is disastrous. iaguz is just going to try to make a stand with the SCVs. It's not good enough. He's weakened a few of them, but look at how many Harvesters he's lost at this point.
Yeah, he's already down quite a few here. The Zealots are still not cleaned up. There is a Marine Angel popping out here, and it's going to take a few more shots. They will be able to clean them up, but it's 16 workers against 8 at this point already.
Yeah, I mean, and this is the big thing right here. The Reaper and a Marine is really not matched up well against the Stalker. Now, this is pretty good kiting coming out from iaguz. He's going to try and peel off the shields from that Stalker. And the bad news gets worse. The Mothership core should be at home defending, but with the Reaper here, the Protoss player Lilbow knows he can actually just do a full-on assault here. The SCV needs to complete that command center. It does do that. So if there is a chance, never mind.
Never mind. Game #1 going to Lilbow after he brings out, well, that's probably the quickest game of the season, actually.
Yeah, I imagine it would be, and it was Lilbow having a little bit of a laugh. Why not? He's on stage. He's 3-0 in the group. Everyone's hyping up as one of the best.
Yeah.
And he's one game away from going on to the round of 8, really making an argument for all that hype.
Yeah. The crazy thing is that his previous series as well against IA was pretty fast as well. It was just gateway push. And
he's got somewhere to go, man. Tonight, you know, that bed at the hotel is super comfortable.
Yeah.
I can only imagine he wants to get back on that ladder and proxy gate the other people in Europe right now as well. Maybe some Canadians if we're lucky.
Yeah, yeah. You know? That was quite the quick tail there from him, and he looks happy at the moment. I don't suspect that's going to happen again. And then on the contrast, he's not as happy.
If we could get a split screen between the two faces to really show the different emotions, that would be top-notch production. You know what I like about this, though, too? I mean, starting off with the cheese does so much, excuse me, maybe Munch too, but so much to the mental game of someone like iaguz. Next game, does he go, well, if it's a two-player map, do I wall in? Am I worried about him repeating strategies? Walling in throws a wrench in my build. That's not what I practice. That's not what I want to do. Is he going to follow this up with another kind of cheese, proxy oracle, or is he going to go straight up macro? The ball is in the court of Lilbow, and that's to say that he controls the pace of this series from now on.
Yeah, definitely. Second map is going to be Echo here, which technically, being basically the sister map of Coda, in my opinion, you could technically see similar things, but one would think here that Lilbow plays it a bit longer, unless, as you said, he does have somewhere to be.
Claris, if Lilbow does it again, I think, I promise you, you will eat your shoe. I think that,
yeah, probably.
It should be you, not me. I'm on a diet. But
that's fine. I can eat my shoes.
Hard leather is really hard on your kidney, I believe. But, yeah, it's another 1v1 map, and anytime you know where your opponent spawns, that predictable spawn location opens up the possibilities for cheese. I don't need to scout inside his main. I don't need to check his natural. I know where he's at. So that was part of the reason why we saw a gateway so early and exactly well placed in that last game. In this game, maybe it's not a gateway. Like I said, it could be Stargate. We've seen Blink. We've seen DTs. All of that's possible. And the scary thing is, maybe he does none of that. Maybe he goes completely straight up.
And that is very scary, you're correct, because the way in which we've seen Lilbow play even against someone like Euthermal in his Challenger games, where he's playing these long 2-base styles with double forge, can equally be as menacing.
Yeah, I mean, just the speed of that last match was actually, like, in its own way intense. Like, I'm almost out of breath for iaguz. It's like he was literally making jokes on stage 5 minutes ago, and now he is the picture of an angry, you know, Lord of the Rings character just ready to drop an axe on somebody. But here we are. We're in the next game.
Let's do it. Game number 2 now after a quick and furious game 1 as we have spawning down to the bottom right-hand corner. Currently 1 up. It's our red Protoss. It is Millennium's Lilbow. And up to the top left-hand corner, we have our blue Terran. Representing Team Root as well as Australia, it's iaguz.
You know, a lot of people are talking about the French being super well represented here, a lot of players.
Yeah.
Marine Lord, Firecake, Lilbow, but also Australia. I mean, yes, we got Pig on the desk, but we also have Atreus out there.
True.
iaguz. I mean, these are 2 countries you wouldn't necessarily think to be some of the top competitive esport countries, but they most certainly are.
Yeah, Southeast Asia doing pretty well there in their representation, that's for sure. iaguz obviously here doing pretty well for himself, especially in that previous series against TLO. Now, though, going up against Lilbow, who a lot of people going into this group have pegged as one of the favorites. He is holding back no punches. First against IA, and now against iaguz. Just, he is quick, and he wants to finish these fast.
That being said, iaguz here you can see not walling in. That would be to build depots in the barracks, perhaps at the choke entry point into the main base. He says, you know what? Lilbow, I'm going to gamble. You are not going to do it again. And he's correct, but what a gamble, because I mean, in that last game, I mean, there's going to be people that are going to furrow their brow at this comment, but it was essentially a free win. 3 Zealots against a SCV line of workers, and then a Reaper coming in late to dual wield his pistols and try to help. Not the best of situation. I mean, at the end of it, the 3 Zealots died, and it was something like 8 SCVs died. Or 9, I think, actually, at that time. And in an early game part of StarCraft II match, that's just too much. Never almost never can you recover, even Terrans with their mules.
Yeah, those numbers matter all the more at the beginning of the game, that's for sure, especially when you're losing 50% of your mineral line. But in this one here, Lilbow looking to move on to the round of 8. At the moment, this is the biggest opportunity of both of these players' careers. And if iaguz just kind of has this almost thrown away for him in the winners match off the back of these kinds of losses, that is going to annoy him and hinder him here in his progress.
Now we do see iaguz checking. I mean, we just got done watching this. He checked outside his base for those proxy gateways or any kind of tech. Didn't find anything. As we can see here, it is going to be what you would call the cookie cutter opening for Lilbow, and that's to say that this is, if a Protoss player played 10 PVTs, they would do this build 7 or 8 times.
Yeah.
It is the one gateway expand. It gets you the fastest second Nexus without having going Nexus first, and it still gives you some gas to get up this Mothership core that you can see times up nicely for when the Reaper shows up to make sure that he scouts but doesn't get his cake too.
Yeah, he's almost always, as iaguz, going to be wanting to look out just in case the Twilight Council is going down from Lilbow, because he does love to get that nice and early to then have the blink as a tool to deal, even potentially just soft containing a Terran, because it can be very, very annoying for them to deal with, hence Euthermal being one of the victims of that in this season thus far.
Absolutely. He's going to check around. Again, and this is actually, it's nice for iaguz too. He can kind of take a deep breath himself as well. He said it kind of a funny way in the last series against TLO, but there's something to be taken from this. He talked about, well, if the game goes on and it's just mechanics, I feel confident. You know, I think he was saying it in a little bit of a funny way, but I think the message is still clear. He was trying to communicate that he is most comfortable in the full breadth of a TvP. Todd talked about this at the analysis desk. He used to be a little bit of an SCV puller. I don't know that he's still stylistically really there, but he definitely is a guy that wants to be dropping, he wants to be mass producing on 3 base plus economy, and it looks like the game's heading, at least at this time, in that direction.
And that's the thing, now that he's spotted the Twilight Council behind all of this, obviously iaguz has to take some precautions, one would say, against a Protoss player in this situation, right?
Absolutely. He has to be very careful because he has opted for, we've seen this earlier in the day as well, a fast harass style. Widow Mines, maybe a couple of Marines poking around. It's not meant to end the game. It's supposed to gimp the Protoss and give advantage to the Terran as we proceed forward. But we've seen this before as well. If the Protoss just says, you know what, I'm not going to go Forge, I'm not going too heavy into any other tech, I'm going to make 8 or 9 Blink Stalkers, that can actually end the game in this situation because the Terran doesn't have that meaty of an army.
And likewise, Lilbow covering his bases with the Robo coming in at the time it is. He has, with this Twilight Council build, had some instances where Widow Mine drops have caused him a lot of problem. But now with the Robo being at the time it's at, he should be completely okay, right?
He should, in most senses. I mean, the cool thing about this opening for iaguz, and the reason why so many Terrans do it, is because it's at the very least going to get probably an SCV pull. But if the Protoss is not paying attention, or you get a lucky Widow Mine trigger, all of a sudden they're down 12 probes. And that's like, again, even at this stage, pretty darn close to get out of the game, you're dead. And here we go. Lilbow, do you notice? Yes, he starts to notice now. And the Widow Mine, you know what, there's a little bit of a delay there. iaguz did not tell it to burrow immediately, and I think that's going to cost him a couple of potential kills. But if he can get these Widow Mines out of here, great moves. I mean, this is all good.
Yeah, good separation up there of the probes. He didn't take too many losses. 4 probes in total there do end up falling, but the Robo Bay is on the way here for Lilbow. We've seen him launch 2 base Colossus timings against Terrans that have just had a really difficult time of even getting the right amount of Vikings out to actually be able to greet that. So in iaguz's shoes here, obviously he needs to spot it, but then reacting from there, it can sometimes be tricky.
Yeah, you know, Claris, you're absolutely right. I mean, that's part of the struggle for Terran is this could be a 2-base timing attack, and to your point, you need to be really, really prepared for it if it is. We've got these Widow Mines going down. It's looking like it's not going to be minimal losses at best. But it's also a possibility that Lilbow doesn't do that 2-base timing attack. He's got Blink, which is a great defensive ability. He goes Colossus, which is just a nice backbone to the Protoss army. And then he takes a 3rd, and then he goes Templar Archives and starts to kind of branch out his techs. And if the Terran overcompensated, has 5 bunkers down and a bunch of defenses, they themselves are just behind because they misread it.
And that is one of the scarier things, again, about Lilbow's play, is that he can take very delayed 3rd bases and still be totally fine. The Colossus are on the way now, and we're already seeing on the other side of things, iaguz here trying to set himself up that 3rd base pretty rapidly.
The nice thing about this, and really one of the strengths of Terran in general, is like, let's say he can't defend that 3rd base. Let's say Lilbow does go crazy with 2 base all in. you can lift that up and reinvest in it later, assuming you're still alive. So it's not the worst thing in the world at all. In fact, it kind of applies pressure to the Protoss. It says, hey, if you're going to do that 2-base timing attack, you better do it soon, because otherwise I'll have just too much of an economy for you to deal with. But if you're going to take a third, you need to show me that card pretty soon. Otherwise, your third is not necessarily irrelevant, but if it's too far behind my third, it just puts you at a disadvantage.
And it was a little bit of supply block there for Lilbow, who will be able to get out of that. At the moment, here, iaguz has taken a small supply advantage with not really much of a discrepancy in the economy, but it's all about that third base. And the eyes are always being kept on top of this army. He cleans that up. Really good job there by iaguz.
It's a mark of a good Terran, and of course here at the round of 16 for WCS Season 2 Finals, you're going to expect to see that kind of play. But that Observer, if left alone, which is not uncommon, it happens quite often. Oh god, you guys are in enemy territory. Okay, good, they find the exit point. They're going to get out of there. But that Observer can just give such amazing information. That's where you see the SCVs coming out, or that's where you see the Medivacs load up for a Doom drop of sorts. But without that Observer, all of a sudden Lilbow's going to be a little more anxious. And Kalaris, your wisdom shows through here. It is going to be a 2-base timing attack. He's down 20-ish supply. He has, I believe, 1 attack upgrade to his name, and that's it. He's going for it.
Yeah, normally we see him if he was going on to that 3-base or the delayed 3rd base, there will be double forge with this, but no, it was just the 1, and he will now be moving forwards. And the thing is that all of those Stalkers, actually, they baited out a big stim from that entire army to just get 1 Stalker. Now, how many Vikings does he have? Really not that many here to deal with this. He drops the scan, sees those 2 Widowmines up to the top, and he can negate those positioning quite easily, and actually takes quite a chunk of damage to them, but it's only shield damage for now.
That Widowmine leveled the playing field for a second here, because Kalaris, you talked about it, it's about the Vikings, and while the supply advantage is nice for a Terran player, he doesn't have much in the way of dealing with these 2 Colossus. Here we go, Lilbow's going to push up. The hype train is real. He wants to cement himself as one of the best European players. iaguz is trying to hold on. He's doing the flank, the pull tip, but it's just not good enough. The Time Warp is holding back the force, and this positioning is so strong for the Protoss.
Second Time Warp as well here. All the SCVs from the Natural actually came off the line to try and deal against this. He needs to be able to kill off all the ground army then to get to the Colossi, but it's not going to be enough.
iaguz is getting put down here. Lilbow's making it look easy. He's stomping through a quick game 1. Game 2, not looking to be much tougher here, Kalaris.
Yeah, he is just showing a masterclass as to how to trick someone out and how to play out these builds with genuine precision as Lilbow here kills off the rest of the bio. There's only Medivacs remaining here, basically, for him, and he blinks forwards, killing off the rest. GG, Lilbow takes the swift 2-0 and will advance on to the round of 8.
What a trip for this 19-year-old. He shows up in Toronto, plays 4 games. I mean, I've used the bathroom, and it's taken longer than what he did here. And he's earned for himself a gigantic mound of cash. He's not even done just yet. He's in the round of 8. Earning for himself some WCS points, and he's really, again, staking his claim. A lot of people are saying, this is the guy, but he hasn't gotten it done offline. Well, guess what? 4-0 in quick fashion, starting to get it done.
It's been a year and a bit here since Lilbow decided that he was going to become one of the best non-Koreans in the world. And now he is in a position where he moves on to the round of 8 in his debut season of WCS. Let's hear from our winner.
Thank you very much. Once again, congratulations to Lilbow from Millennium for moving on to the quarterfinals. It's been quite a journey for you, as everyone's been saying. I mean, you've always shown such a high level of play online, and you had so many chances, but finally you've broken through to the Premier League and now into the quarterfinals. How does it feel?
I feel good, but I just want to play the round of 8 as soon as possible. I can't wait.
You just can't wait to play the round of 8. I assume you want to win also in the quarterfinals. Do you see yourself going all the way to the finals and even winning this weekend?
Yeah, I'm here for the #1 place, definitely.
All right, he's here to take the whole weekend, and so far, I mean, we've seen that level of play. Now I have to ask, after the first map, we saw you with that just huge grin on your face after you completely shut down your opponent. Was that just a grin of like you couldn't believe it, or were you just smiling like, that's right, I'm going to take this game?
It was because I knew iaguz was a very greedy player, and even before the match started, I knew I would win with this build, and everything was worked as intended.
All right, coming in with a plan to take down iaguz. Well, once again, ladies and gentlemen, moving on from Group C, the first player, it is Lilbow from Millennium.
He's organized, he's constructive, he's very detailed on what he wants to do, and oh boy, does he have confidence. He wants #1, and I think if you look, you know, in the scene, when was the last time we saw a player like that come through and say, actually, you know, I'm here to win this. I'm playing good. I feel great. Give me the round of 8. I'm going the distance. That's something we haven't seen in a long time. What are you thinking when you hear someone like that?
It's always, you know, this player's up and coming. He's so good. This is his chance. And so many times they get nervous. It doesn't quite work out. But this is one of those rare times where we've actually seen Lilbow step up and just look so commanding. That grin on his face after that first game, that's going to be etched into our minds forever, I think.
He reminds me of Stefano.
Yeah.
Just showing up like this and, you know, being a little bit, I don't know how to call it without being offensive, but like, you know,
was he being an arrogant Frenchman?
Yes. I think so, a little bit. I think it's okay to be confident, though. And, I mean, he really delivered as well in these games, but it's always funny to see, like, you know, one of these young guys just come here and be like, I just want to be the #1 and, like, win and win and win.
And he's been saying it for a long time now, Todd, and very similar to Stefano back in the days when Stefano was at the top. That's what he said too. He thought he was the best. He told everybody time after time he was #1, and we're seeing that very similar pattern coming out from Lilbow. And another funny story they both share is, remember way back when in 2012 Stefano lost his bag to play in the tournament? So did Lilbow. Luckily he got it back in time to play in this, but he lost his bag at the airport, turned up to practice on day 1, didn't have a mouse and keyboard.
That was WCS as well, which he won.
It's funny to see, and it's good to see. So we'll definitely continue to follow how well Lilbow's been doing. We can go ahead and take a look at the bracket as we've completed Group C for today, which leaves us with only 2 games. We'll talk about them in a minute, but here it is. Lilbow 4-0 in what we can say of one of the fastest 4-0s we've seen within the WCS. He demolished iaguz in the first match. He then, as we just saw, took very little time to complete the 4-0 to move through in first place. Leaving our games for tomorrow, TLO versus iaguz, and the winner against the Australian iaguz. Once again, dominant performances from Lilbow in that record time. You brought it up to me, Todd, just super aggressive, not wanting to mess around. He knows he's better than everyone. He's just looking to close it out.
Yeah, it's so funny to see a guy like this who just wants to get done with his games ASAP. He just wants to pick up the title as soon as possible. He's probably backstage right now trying to argue to make a case to push his match earlier to like tomorrow or something.
Can I play the round of 8 tomorrow? No, it's on Sunday. I'm feeling great. Give me anybody. Paul, you want to practice? Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. It's time to move on to Group D. And I know a lot of you have been waiting for this one. First of all, we have Petraeus, new blood in the scene within WCS, and someone that you cannot underestimate. But he goes up against the Tyrant, who we all know as Jadon, kickstarts his 2015 WCS run right here, right now. We'll be right back.